I'm Nathan Langan. I'm the Director of Business Development, and I'll be giving an overview of Spirit of Math. This is what we currently have right now to date, how we got here, and what we want to do in the future. Next would be Mayan Imran Masood. He will be talking about the current education landscape of Pakistan. Following will be the CEO and co-founder of Spirit of Math, Kimberly Langan. She'll be talking about the global future of what we see in releasing the genius around the world, and then followed by the Education Minister of Punjab, Pakistan, Dr. Murad Ras, who will be talking about the future of education in Punjab. So Spirit of Math, we are the largest system of after-school schools for high-performing students in mathematics. You can see here on the map that we have 39 locations in Pakistan, in Canada, 1 in the United States, and 4 in Pakistan. You can see also our distance that we've traveled all across Canada. This is from Ottawa to Vancouver. This is 4,800 kilometers. Remember this piece because I'll mention it later on in my presentation. We have also been on Canada's fastest 500 growing companies for the last 5 years. Now, when I said we are a system of after-school schools for high-performing students, this means that we are not a tuition center. We operate exactly like a day school would during the day. We start at the beginning of the school year and run all the way to the end. There are tests, assignments, and a year-end exam. We also have written and created our own proprietary curriculum and teacher training program. This is to ensure that the quality has maintained over its 30 years of history. Now, I mentioned again that because we've been on a scale of 4,800 kilometers, and as a reference point, this is similar to driving 4 times from Lahore to Karachi. We've had to make sure that our quality has not shifted at all once. We do monitor this through our tests and assignments and year-end exam. Another one is our contest that we do for grades 1 to 4, and it's because it is marked by head office. And this is to see and make sure that the teachers are delivering everything through, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and that the core concepts for the high-performing students are being delivered, and they're actually maintaining it and able to process. Now, how did we get here? Well, there was 3 co-founders. My mother, Kim Langan, who is currently the CEO of Spirit of Math, and then Mr. Charles Ledger, who is my grandfather. He started in the 1980s teaching a gifted program in grades 7, 8, 9, and over 13 years, they came first place in Canada 12 times for the entire team. This meant every single student in his class scored perfect for 12 out of the 13 years. And so, well, what are they doing that's right? There was a little bit of friction between him and, at the time, the politicians, because they said, well, we want to go in this direction. And he said, well, Charles Ledger said, you know what I'm doing works. There was some friction, and he said, you know what, I'm going to step back and I'm going to do something on my own. And this was in 1993. He teamed up with Kim Langan, his daughter, and his wife, Gwen Ledger, and they started in the basement of my house. So I remember being 3 years old, walking downstairs and seeing 35 students in September, and then by June, seeing 80 students all coming in and just witnessing this amazing thing. And what I learned about 10 years later, that it wasn't the parents that were forcing these kids to go, it was actually these students that came to Charles Ledger and said, we moved to this neighborhood so that you could teach us. So can you please do something for us? And that is actually what has been the majority of our success. There we go, is that everything has been spurred through demand. Rather than providing the classes first and then trying to get students, it's always been the parents or the students saying, can you please do something? And so you'll see here, K-12, this is our Spirit of Math classes. This is what we currently have 4 classes in Pakistan, in Lahore doing. And then what has spurred after that is that people said, can you please continue to create some sort of books? And that's when our publications came in. What are you doing with your drills? How come everyone knows their numeracy so well? And then we started to produce our drill books throughout. And then the adult education. This is our teacher training, not only in pedagogy, but having to teach teachers mathematics. And this is what we have to do in Canada. Just going back to teaching grade 8 teachers, okay, let's start with grade 4 word problems. Let's make sure that you're able to think without applying algebra to everything, because we really had to peel everything back. Now, Again, I talked about the scalability across this large land of Canada, and it's because we've stuck to our true mission statement, and it's to promote cooperation, inspire confidence, and release the genius in every child. And again, that is what I want to make sure that everyone here remembers during the ideation and group work portion, is that this is what we want to stick to. Now, also for the K-12 classes, adult education, and publishing, we focus on our 4 core elements. This is our core curriculum, our problem solving, our drills, and our cooperative group work. You'll be able to witness all 4 of these during today's presentation. Our core values that we also stick very true to is, and there's 2 that I want to highlight today, is courage and imagination. And courage is what we have to teach our teachers constantly, regardless of where we go. And the biggest courage is have courage in your students, right? Just because you think they aren't able to do it presently, well, how do we get there? That is really what you need to get through to them. And then imagination, understanding that everything is possible if you're able to imagine it and work hard towards it. You know, so many times we were told, why are you expanding to Pakistan? It will not work. Well, look at this. It's working. Now, in having the benefit of starting in Toronto, Canada, the most multicultural city in the world, we have people coming from all types of backgrounds. And this is just a brief snapshot of where all of our students come from. And the reason why this is a very good point to highlight is that our curriculum actually reflects it. We are able to pull pieces from Russia, from Pakistan even, from the United States, from South America. And that has been able to produce very well-rounded students. You'll see here, this is the types of awards that they've won. It goes all the way from piano, violin, robotics, chess, badminton, and then 44% of our classes are girls. This is something that I'm very proud of because it really shows that we are very inclusive and everyone's able to do it. Again, it's having the courage to teach our kids regardless of what the preconceived notions are. Now, one really good mention that we had is that we were selected 3 years to become Team Canada for the World Mathematical Olympiad. During its first year, we went to Seoul, Korea, and we didn't win anything. We got blown out of the water. The following year, we went to Beijing, and we were able to win a gold, a bronze, and a silver. And to me, I thought that was a good stepping stone. And then last year, we actually went to Stanford University, and out of our 12 students, 11 won medals. And so this was very impressive because we were the only Western country that did well in the event. Now, before I jump into what we have accomplished in Pakistan and where we plan on going, I wanted to play a quick video, actually of some colleagues or some friends that used to work here in Pakistan.
I've just finished 2 years in Pakistan working with a very large schools group. And one of the things that fascinated me, both in daily living and within our schools and also in a working environment, is there's a fantastic attitude in Pakistan, a can-do, whenever there's a problem or an issue. And I think that this is a wonderful blend of both creativity and imagination, because sometimes some of the problems that people are presented with, they have no experience, but are able to create and think about something and come up with a solution that's completely unusual. So I actually feel that this get up and go, we will do it, we will solve it, if you added that to actually being taught to do that in a disciplined way and in a logical way, I think Pakistan could have an amazing tool to embrace all the challenges that it's currently facing. I think that young people are very hopeful in Pakistan. There's a great energy, an enthusiasm, and a huge pride in their country. And if we equip them with all the right thinking skills and the collaborative skills, and get rid of some of the hierarchical skills and focus on working together and agreeing something together and moving it and making it into a practical, actual solution, will actually bring Pakistan to the top of the pile in Asia, where I think it knows in its heart is where it belongs. It's very interesting to see that Spirit of Math not only inspires confidence in the children, but also is looking for them to find themselves and release that little bit of genius, that little bit of imagination. And that's their whole approach. And therefore, I feel this is really meeting what's going to be a huge gap in the educational, not market, but the educational models that we have, which are going to be ripped apart as we enter a new era of computers being able to deliver, in effect, an awful lot of knowledge, because teaching and learning is not just about knowledge, it's about thinking and problem solving. And it's been a joy to be here watching the children problem solving together. The interesting thing is, and probably the most thing that struck me the most, is that you can give a really difficult problem to a child in the spirit of math, and there's none of that look, oh, I can't do it. It's, wow, I'm going to find a way to do this. And if I can't, I'm going to speak to my friends I work with in groups. And there's a smile on their face when they're given a difficult problem, not that fear that you see so often in the classroom, where children's immediate reaction is, I can't do it, and then they want to move away from it. So Spirit of Math is doing something quite extraordinary.
There's a lot of work to be done in the education sector in Pakistan, with so many children not in school and questions about the quality of the education they receive in government schools. And I think Spirit of Math has an opportunity to involve itself in basic teacher training, not only in math, but in general pedagogic style, which is quite traditional in many cases. There's still a very didactic, teacher-led focus in many classes, and this, of course, is exactly what Spirit of Math isn't about, where they're encouraging children to think for themselves and solve problems. And this is clearly the way forward in education, but it will require a lot of hard work to get teachers and school leaders to accept that this change is necessary. And in particular, I think parents in Pakistan are very results orientated. They like to see marks coming back every day in notebooks. And I know Spirit of Math in Canada works a lot with parents in terms of the orientation and what Spirit of Math is about and what the philosophy of this style of teaching is about. It's been really interesting to see Spirit of Math in operation in Canada on a large scale, because I first came across them in Pakistan, where they're setting up similar styles of after-school tuition for children there. And it is a challenge there because it involves a change of mindset in the way that children learn. Parents think differently in different parts of the world. I think that globally we're at a kind of crossroads in education. There's a lot of questions about the type of curriculum that we teach in schools, about the way that children learn. And I think we have to ask ourselves questions about what it is we're teaching them and how we teach them. And Spirit of Math embraces that question really well. And I've been really impressed to see classes not only in math, but in English and technology, and how they stretch children to think beyond the normal constraints of a school curriculum.
So I thought that video was a perfect segue of going from Canada to Pakistan. And I also thought that talking about WMO Canada going to Stanford last year was also very important to talk about, because WMO has actually granted us the rights to be able to bring a team from Pakistan to compete against the world this year. It is going to be in Thailand, August 2019, and we feel that we've been able to create a good method of selecting and training those students to be able to take them and compete against the world. So this is one thing that we have here. Now, there's some we're very proud about, is that we like to get into the community. So we've been involved with Islamabad for about 18 months now, and they don't know this, but I'm going to invite them up to talk about their history very quickly and what they're doing. So come on up, both of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Spirit of Math, and thank you so much, Minister of Education, for giving us the opportunity to talk about it. So these children, you were saying, actually, these are children who are called Pakhiwas, and they are nomads and gypsies, and I'm one of them. I'm one lucky one who got education, and we are trying to educate those people, because I'm standing on this stage that is through reading and writing, and I want to bring these change and this imagination to these children. And as my wife, like she is trying to help me in that, because this genius, this spirit, this should not be limited to a certain class of children. Pakistan should be equal to each and every child. Either he's born on a footpath, on a juggi, or in a tent. It belongs to every Pakistan, and then they can contribute towards a greater nation, to a better nation, and a nation where children can imagine about math, education, literature, where they are not worried about food scarcity and like they are not sleeping on homelessness conditions. Would you like to say?
And I just want to say a big thank you for Spirit of Maths for inviting us to collaborate, because I think there is, as you have said in your presentation, there is so much we can together to help think creative thinking, and we have the future in our own hands if we get the tools to think. Yeah, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Part of our mission here in Pakistan is, yes, we've set up 4 campuses, and we're doing amazing things, and it's because, well, we have amazing teachers. Another thing that we want to do is, well, how do we get out there and find all of these hidden gems? And so that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with Islamabad. And we've actually also are starting to work with Bushra Ansari. Actually, we are working with Bushra Ansari, and she's funded some children to come and join our Spirit of Math classes. Now, this is a great start, and what we want to do is, how do we get out there and find all of these students? It was 5 years ago I came across this TED Talks about this website. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but what they do is that they have these math problems. And so the story that really stuck in my head was this 12-year-old boy in the Philippines. He was born into poverty, but because he was solving all these questions, he was actually able to get mentorship from a professor in Oxford. And then by the time he was 16 years old, he ended up moving and was going through classes. And so the way that we've decided to go about this is, how do we find this talent across the world, is actually going to be through our International Spirit of Math contest. Originally it started as a standardization for our students, and then we decided, well, let's put this out there and see what happens. So last year was our first year in Pakistan, and we were able to reach, in my eyes, it was quite impressive because we were able to reach 5 cities. Now, this contest is for grades 1 to 4, and it is for high-performing students. All children are welcome to write this contest, and the difference between a contest and a competition, which is very important, is that a contest is to challenge yourself and to see how you compete against your peers. As in, a competition is to go out there with the sole purpose of becoming number 1. Now, I know that there's a gentleman here that is also a very good friend, Imran Masood. He's coming up next. Imran Masood is the former Minister of Education for Punjab, Pakistan's senior parliamentarian who has held many important positions in the government of Pakistan. He has been involved in the policy making as being the elected member of Provincial Assembly Punjab, Pakistan holding different portfolios in different times. His focus has been in the areas of education, health, human rights, women empowerment, environment, cultural, and heritage. He has been a strong supporter in enhancing strengthening the concept of public-private partnership. Working in the education sector has been his long career of hard work and achievements. He has the honor of launching the biggest education reform of Punjab in 2002, which was then adopted throughout all of Pakistan. Free education for every child, free textbooks for public schools, public school sector, and stipends for girls as well. The World Bank supported this education reform program as a partner. This reform program was rated as one of the best programs in the world in achieving the Millennium Development Goals. Mayan Imran Masood also made a policy for the quality enhancement and research of the education institutes. Higher Education Commission was promoted and strengthened in his time to monitor the universities in Pakistan. Many private universities were established in his time. He is representing various organizations in different capacities. He has traveled extensively all over the world attending conferences and seminars. Currently, he is the Vice Chancellor of the University of South Asia, Lahore, Pakistan, and the Chairman of Gandhara Association of Art and Culture. Please put your hands together and welcome Imran Masood.
Let me just appreciate Kim's team, the Spirit of Math team, who've been launched in Pakistan, who are now here for the last 2 years. It takes a lot of courage to get out of your country and to be somewhere else to launch your program. So thank you, Kim, that you've been very successful here already. And you have the greatest support of Pakistani community for being here. I would also like to thank the minister for being here, Murad Ras, a brilliant man, a very nice person. And we've had several meetings together. We've been sharing our experiences, and I'm very determined, and I'm also very hopeful that with this minister, the future of education is in safe hands. I'll just take about 5 to 10 minutes. Everybody knows that the Forman Christian College, which has been turned into a university now, is about 156 years old institution. Same goes for the Gordon College in Pindi, Murray College in Sialkot. You take Kinnaird College in Lahore. They're all about 70 years, 80 years old institutions. We talk about grammar school in Karachi, convent in Quetta. So all these schools which are here in Pakistan, universities, colleges and schools like Dayal Singh College, then we had the MAO College, Aligarh University, we got the Zwatran schools, Parsi schools. So all these education was being given by the private communities. Let me just highlight this, this sector. The education was being given by the private communities before 1971, pre-partition and before 1971. In 1971, these community colleges were nationalized by the government of Pakistan. In the era of Bhutto, when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto came in, so he nationalized all these schools and colleges. Then the departments came up, the ministries were made, unions were made, the teachers came in. So there was a lot of discouragement, regarding the private sector coming in. So now, when we talk about the issues which I faced as a minister back in 2002 were a long series of challenges which I know the current minister is also facing. We had a very, very less budget. I was only given 34 billion, sir. You might be getting more than 200 billion. My budget was 34 billion. 26 billion was the salary component. 6 billion was non-development. 1 billion was for the development. The schools, I'll focus more on Punjab actually. The schools which I was heading were 63,000 public schools, Sarkari schools. And out of 63, 43,000 had no boundary walls, no furniture, no fans, no electricity, no toilets, nothing at all. So there was a huge requirement of money, and the money that I required was 90 billion in 2002. And I was only given 1 billion to do my schools, and I had to also look after 424 colleges, 15 public universities, 8 educational boards, textbook board, and obviously education foundation. So we had no money, and I had to go from pillar to post to get this money. I went to my chief minister. Parvez Elahi was the chief minister, and he said, we don't have any money, so you need to go to the prime minister. So I went to the federal government, to the prime minister, Mr. Jamali, and I said, sir, I need some money. I need to do this, I need to do that. And Mr. Jamali said that, sorry, we don't have any money. So eventually I had to go to the World Bank to get some money, which I got that money. $300 billion was given to me for 3 years, $100 billion for every year. Sorry, $300 million. So we took this initiative of announcing free education for every child. My biggest challenge was the enrollment, decreasing enrollment, high dropout rate. Pakistan had the biggest dropout rate in the world out of 9 million students, 4 million were dropped out every year. And this record, this statistic was recorded by the World Bank, by the UNICEF, and many other agencies. So it was a big embarrassment for the government of Punjab and Pakistan that we had such a huge. Now, why would these children would be dropped out? Why would they go back to their houses? Nobody knew that. It could be poverty. It could be lack of access, no infrastructure, and the schools weren't attractive. So students were shifting from the government schools to the private sector schools. So I needed to make my schools very attractive, but then there was no boundary wall. There was no desk, there was no chair. People were sitting on the tart thing. So it was a big, big challenge which I faced. But then again, we announced free education for every child. We announced free textbooks for every child. So stipends were also given to females, the female students, because we had a huge dropout amongst the female students only in the 15 districts of the south of Punjab, where parents thought that these female students should not be sent to schools, and they were brought back from grade 6, from grade 8, from the middle schooling sector. They were pushed back to their homes. So we thought that we're going to do women empowerment through giving stipends and free education to our children. So we did that. We announced a very strict monitoring system. We got about 800 people as new recruits, those Naib Subedars, to go around our schools. So in 5 years of time, which we spent in our government, the literacy rate from day one was 42%, and when I left, the literacy rate was 62%. So we had a quantum jump of, from 42 to 62%. Curricula was a big issue because we wanted to give quality education to our children. So for quality, we needed to have examination, teachers training, and obviously the curricula revamping. The curricula was the prerogative of the federal government. Now it is the prerogative of the provincial government. So we faced a little problem dealing with the federal minister of education. After the 18th amendment, now it has come down, the education has been devolved to the provinces. It has become sort of independent and autonomous, so there's no interference from the federal government. So curricula was the biggest issue, and nobody had ever worked on this curricula. Zubaida Jalal was the Minister for Education in those times. So she did a little revamping, and that revamping was done after 26 years. So our books were redundant. Nobody wanted to come to the government schools. Private sector was coming up very fast. They were more attractive. They had the modern curricula. So there was a competition between, in fact, there was no competition between the public and the private schools. So I wanted my government schools to be rated close to the private sector, because in my times, the government schools were Urdu medium schools, strictly Urdu medium, because we focused on the national language. But then English was a requirement. So we started English as a compulsory language from grade 1. Previously, it was done from grade 6. So we brought it down to grade 1. So we gave English as a compulsory language, maths as a compulsory subject, and free education, stipends, teachers training became compulsory. DSD was revamped. Nobody wanted to come for teachers training. They thought that teachers training was a punishment because the TADA was very less. There were no housing facilities for the women, and women could not get out of their homes, traveling far off from Chakwal, from Lahore, from Gujarat, from Mandi Bhawadeen, and their husband would not allow them to stay 7 days in a week in Lahore. So we changed the whole system. DSD was then strengthened. CEDA helped us, the Canadian agency. They gave us money, and we started this on-the-job, non-stop teachers training, not in summers, throughout the year. So these challenges that we faced, we handled them well, and I'm sure same challenges would be dealt by the current minister also. Pakistan is huge, 4 provinces. Now we got Gilgit-Baltistan also. The population is huge. It's a humongous and a monstrous department. We're talking about 700,000 people working only in one single education department of Punjab only. It is one of the biggest ministries in the world, like the American ministries, like the Chinese, like the Indians. So I think if you have the leadership, if you have the commitment, and if you have the know-how that what are the ground issues, only then you can design your policy. There have been many education policies in Pakistan which always got changed after every 10 years, after every change of the government. Anybody who came as a minister, he adopted his own policy. So there was nothing was constant. There wasn't any evaluation of any policy, what were the achievements and what were the drawbacks. So anybody who came just only worked in the school sector. But I strongly believe that it is a movement from a school to a college and from a college to a university. And this movement of a student has to be very swift. So schools are linked with colleges, and colleges are linked with universities. You cannot work in isolation. You can't put your focus on schools and forget about the colleges and universities. So it has to be a very systematic policy where you can achieve your results. The boys and the girls of Pakistan, they're brilliant. We've got excellent talent amongst boys and girls. I would go around the entire Punjab, travel the country, and I would see those children, amazing children. But the only issue is that if you put them in the right school, the right enabling environment, that child will excel. But if you don't give that child a desk or a chair, and he's studying under a tree, we call them the tree schools. In my times, I had 250 schools which are operating under a tree. I mean, nobody could ever think about schools working under the trees. But we had this problem. So we need to give access to our young children, to our young boys and girls who come from poor families. The rich community, they can afford the private sector education, but my focus was those children who were in the public schools. So we bridged the gap between the public and private. I never wanted that the public school children would think themselves as inferior students and the private sector as superior. So I bridged that gap. I brought English as a compulsory language, changed the curricula, changed the infrastructure, made the walls, gave them the furniture, gave them the best teachers, recruited new teachers. A new policy was made how to hire a new teacher. There was no restriction. So we said that a teacher has to be a graduate with 1 year of professional education, BA, B.Ed. So that was the order of day in those times. So I think that we need to get these kind of things like the World Olympiad, like the contest, like releasing a genius. We need to give this kind of opportunity to the children of Pakistan and Punjab. Why not? They also deserve modern education, education based on research. We need to have new books, new curricula, where we can make our children to be more successful, brilliant students by giving them the right enabling environment. I think that the government of Punjab, especially the Ministry of Education, has to adopt these kind of models. These models which are very successful models. These models which work throughout the world. The world is now adopting successful models, success stories. And I think with the presence of spirit of math, we have this opportunity which is now there. We need to pick up this opportunity. And I'm very determined and I'm very sure that the Minister of Education, Punjab, is focused on his work and has done his his research. He knows what he has to do now. He needs a good team. So one suggestion which I would like to, last 2 minutes. Do I have 2 minutes? So my suggestion would be to the Ministry of Education that we need to take private sector as our partners with the government. Single-handedly, government cannot operate, cannot attain or achieve the literacy rates which we want to actually achieve. So government, private, both hand in hand, they have to get along, go along. Yes, there has to be a rationale about the fee structure, why not? It has to be fixed. But I think the private sector has to be taken along. I see many familiar faces sitting down there. I've been working with them, they've been working with me. They have been my partner in my mission which I adopted, and still I consider them as very valuable partners. So I think that our education is in safe hands with the leadership of Mr. Murad Ras. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Mr. James, for being here. Mr. Zurain and your entire team, Mr. Umar, for giving this a new idea to us, to our community, and to our society. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Now, our next speaker is Mrs. Kim Langan. She's the CEO and co-founder of Spirit of Math Schools, and she's going to be talking about education around the globe and how releasing the genius and spirit of math is moving towards the future. Thank you.
All right. First of all, before I start, I'm going to just make a point here that education is important for everyone. It's not just those people who are in the schools. So even all of you who are here from the media, it affects you just as much as it affects anybody else. And this is a very, very serious topic. We all should be thinking about this. You have just heard of what has some incredible initiatives that have happened here. What I'm going to do now is take you forward. And we're going to look at not just what is happening in Pakistan, but what is happening in education, what's happening with this world, what do we need to get prepared for? Because this is a changing world. So, I had a little boy come to me last spring, and it was in June, and he was in grade 4. And he said to me, Mrs. Langan, I am worried. He said, did you know that by the year of 2024, 50% of the jobs that are going to be out there, we don't even know about right now. They're all going to be new. He said, we have to make sure kids know about this. This was a child coming to me. We knew this. It is critical. There are huge changes. We are at a place now where it used to be we could see 10, 20 years down the road. But now, no, it's very, very difficult to see. So, let's look at what we have to do to get the kids to learn this. And what are the things that we have to do so that they can be ready for this type of agile and changing world that we're in. The first, they need to be independent thinkers. We need to teach them how to think logically and to reason properly. Those people who are able to reason properly will make proper decisions. And when you make proper decisions, well, your life is a lot nicer. And it also means that if you're a leader and you're making the proper decisions, you're affecting many others in a very good way. So this is critical to get this reasoning in. The next, and this is a huge concern, the fake news, fake facts, huge concern for many of the leaders of the world. They're saying, look at this social media right now. Look what's happening. There's all this fake news. How do we get the kids to be at a point where they can look at it critically, have a disciplined manner to actually investigate and find out what is truth and what's not truth? Critical thinking, the reasoning is also part of that. Does this make sense? But we have to teach them how to think that way so that they can make the proper decisions again and know whether it's going to be fake news or fake facts. Innovative thinking. If you have a business today, the most critical thing you have to develop is innovation. And what do you want? You want people who have been taught how to be innovative thinkers. It's not just, can you follow this and memorize a lot of things? Innovation is the powerhouse for businesses and will be even more of the powerhouse and the motor for businesses. If we don't look at that seriously now, there's going to be serious implications in the future. Now, you've heard a lot about imagination. Imagination, we had a big conference on, so people were really focused on it. I'm not going to touch too much on this, except to say that we tend to sort of think of that as a childish type of thing, where we look at imagination as something that you just imagine and you see all these things in your mind. But in fact, for you to be able to determine what's going to happen in the coming years, imagination helps you do that because it's a disciplined approach. And if you have a disciplined approach to being able to see what's coming up, then you'll be able to make the proper decisions. Now, another thing that often I see in education is that there is a lot of quantity of material. It used to be that education was about knowledge. And that's really what you wanted to have. So it's memorization, give lots and lots of work. And in fact, the whole world, the new shift is, let's get this quality because that's what changes the thinking. And if you have good quality, you don't need to have as many things and as much to memorize. In fact, Egypt, I was just told about a knowledge bank, that the Egyptian knowledge bank that they have, and they basically have this huge online knowledge bank for everybody to access. So we can find knowledge banks all over the world, but that was so that the government could say, here's the knowledge. Now, what is the purpose and the function of the educators? Is to get them to use that knowledge and think about and reason and innovate, okay? Finally, we've got problem solving. Clearly, the future has many different problems coming up, things that we can't even anticipate. This is key to the future, is getting problem solvers. And finally, coexistence is a critical issue faced by all the leaders in the world, that it's not just about you or me and just looking after our own selves and saying this group or this group. We do coexist. So we coexist between demographics, between geographical, between nations, culturally, and we have to teach the kids how to coexist. And so therefore, collaborative learning is critical. And once we learn how to coexist, then many of our answers will be, or many of our problems will be answered. That's when we get to release the genius. Now, there is something else I wanted to talk about today, and that is that we tend to think about education as 3 different silos. Now, before I show this next slide, I wanted to just ask you, and you may think, Kim, why are you asking this question? But I want to ask you, what is the purpose of education? Why do we educate? And you think, oh, so that we can know things. It's not just about knowledge. I just went through reasoning and so on. It's actually to ensure that our future generations, that our society has all the skills and the resources needed for the future. And it is to also improve the quality of life for people. So if you do this well, then the nation will be successful. People will enjoy a much better life and quality of life. Education is critical for all of us. And what generally has happened is that we think about 3 silos. Business is on their own over here, then we have education. Government is governing the country, and they will help the educators. But what we have to do now is integrate. These are like different threads. And when we bring the threads together and intermingle them together, then what you have is a carpet that is joined together and makes a beautiful picture. So I'm going to propose that if we can get businesses to help out more, then you're going to see that there is, and we can integrate them, you can see that innovation will be happening. So to support the innovation, because that's the critical aspect for the future. If you don't have innovation and innovative thinkers, then businesses will not be successful. So what we've got here is successful business, and that provides resources to education. If they're able to provide the resources of people, money, and their skills, then we will have a focused, agile system. Now, I'm saying agile because as much as we need stability, educators also have to be agile for the changing times that are coming. And how do we be agile and then at the same time ensure that the kids have what they need? Because things are changing so much. That will change our innovation standards and produce innovation standards. I actually don't know any innovation actual standards in education anywhere. And this will be something really interesting to think about. Our businesses can also help with that. And that gives you talented people, which helps us and success for our businesses. So in order to look at this and actually think about things, we're actually going to do something a little different today. And part of what we're going to do is some discussion. And so the way that we're going to do that is I'm going to pose problems, a couple of questions to you. And in your tables, you're going to discuss these and come up with some solutions. You're going to have one person at each table. You'll be assigned, one person per table, who will actually take notes. And at the end, so you'll discuss, at the end, we're actually going to have the table stand up and say, here are some of the ideas that we came up with. And we will take those ideas and we're going to create a white paper from these ideas. And it will be shared with all of you so that you can see these are the ideas that we came up with. Spirit of Math likes collaboration. We don't think we have all the answers. We actually know we don't have all the answers. The more people we can get together to discuss this and talk about this very serious topic of education, the better it will be. Okay? So we're going to start off with the very first question. But before we do that, I'm going to ask that everyone joins a table, please, if possible. A couple of you will walk around, and that's okay. But otherwise, I'd like you to join a table because I'd like you to be part of this discussion. We want to hear your ideas. It's very important that we hear all of your ideas. Even if you're not an educator, we want to hear your ideas because, in fact, you will probably bring in something that we hadn't even thought about. When you talk about vision, if you do not have a vision, then you will never know whether you get there or not. Okay? So for leaders, and we have a whole room of leaders here, for leaders here, they should know where they're going. And I think it's really critical because if leaders don't have that passion and that vision, no one will know where to go, never mind whether they reached it or not. Okay, and also what happens if you don't have a vision is that people will start blaming and seeing all the problems and say, look at this and look at that and look at all these problems. Whereas if you have a vision and you've actually reached it, you say, look what we did. Then you start getting excited about things. When you get excited about things, then, now we can do something else. You start believing in things. And when we've got that belief, almost anything can happen. That's why For leadership, I think it's critical we start with visioning. And if you've got that, then you can do a lot. Okay, so this is why I started with this. I have several questions, and each table will address one. We're going to tell you which question you will address. We really want you to take notes, by the way, please, because we want to work with this afterwards. It is very important we understand what you're thinking. How can business collaborate with education? Table number 2 at the back there. What changes in curriculum are needed in order to ensure innovation happens? What is the role of mathematics in the creation of problem solvers? If you can look at that. What do you think of when you hear the word innovation? What is the value of innovation? Okay, what does innovation mean to you, and what is the value of innovation? How can you find talented students and then support their learning? So if you can think of that. And then number 6 is you guys. What are the most critical skills teachers will require to prepare students for the future? Number 6.
In my federation opinion, Pakistan is basically a very fertile country. Every thing we have a lot of natural and human resources we have. But that's unfortunately, it's not, Pakistan is not a poor country, it's poorly managed, so we have some problem. But if with the help of quality education, if we can explore our potential capabilities and a youth, then Pakistan would be in the first row of the developed countries. So I think you people can collaborate with the government, and we people can assist you. And inshallah, the day will come that Pakistan will be in a better position and in the first line of the developed countries. So it's the vision of the Pakistan in our federation opinion. The second, yes, the collaboration of the in education. Already private sector is working in all over the Pakistan. More than 2 lakh private schools are working with us in our federation. And we have a great opportunities to have access of elite class and schools, and as well as low-cost school as well. So yes, with the quality education in a business side, yes, we can work. Our constitution is also allow us, according to the article 18 and 19, we can work. But with better tools, quality, we can deliver better. We can have access our student with teachers, and if we have a good pedagogical skills, like you people are delivering in all over the world, in your country, it's a great opportunity, and I think with the help of the government, private sector can support and assist this.
What we discussed as a group is that teacher training is very important, and teachers should be trained and adequate enough to handle their class. They should understand the mentality of every child, and teachers should be passionate. That's very important, because I've also been in education, and I do realize that if you don't love your talent, you're never good at it. So the other thing is that he or she should have basic educations of being a teacher, you know. And because in our country, most of the teachers, like you said, that when they don't have a job, when somebody can't find a job, the best thing they can do is go and start teaching. And sometimes teachers do not have skills to handle children. And it's very important to handle a child properly. And yes, we should also take care of how the teacher is behaving in her classroom. And I think these are important facts.
Good points. Thank you very much.
I think mathematics is very much important if we look at history. Like it was the most important factor which share with us like problem solving skills as compared to other species. And if you ask me, like I think I would not be afraid to say that even to me God is like a mathematician. If I look at the universe and look things around me, everything works in our order and that's mathematician. And if I look at future, if I look at machine learning, like deep learning, or even cloud computing, and so many new field of like data, I think everything go through mathematics and statistics, and it will be too important for our future as a species. And even if we have to go to other planet, we have to develop this skill of problem solving. And that's what mathematics brings to us.
That how can we find talented students, especially in Pakistan? It's not that the students in schools, as we are seeing, if I talk of myself, we are 40 years old in this business. If we can see students in schools and we can pick them up and just grow them and put them in life, I don't think so it's enough. We have to make teams. We have to go and with cooperation of government sectors, private sectors, merge with each other. As Mr. Imran Masood said, that we need this collaboration. We should make teams in different cities. They should go in different places. You never know what a child in which place, which village, he is there and he's not getting any facility and talent is there.
Perfect.
But we can't find it. So we need teamwork to find talent, and if we find talent, I think Pakistan is best on it. We can do it.
Good, thank you. I hope you can see how just even talking about a couple of little things, and we've only given you a very small bit of time, will help us move forward. And it is this collaboration that's needed. And it also, the ideas that are brought out, and it's not just have I got the right answer. It's not about the right answer. It is about asking the right questions so that we can figure out what are the solutions and go forward. So along the way, I really encourage you all to start these discussions in your own neighborhoods, in your own families, and wherever you go, because education is critical. And it is the elixir of life, all right? So with that, I am finished with my talk, and I'd like to just introduce Nathan again, I guess, and he's going to tell you what's next. So thank you very much, everybody, for doing this and participating.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ms. Kim, Nathan, Mr. Imran Masood, Mr. James, all the guests, Assalamu alaikum. It was very interesting what I've seen today, and I've talked to them in the previous meetings that I've had in my office, a couple of meetings when they were inviting me here and telling me exactly what Spirit of Math is. I think I would want all our children to have this facility. I'm telling you, this is something so unique, and it doesn't mean that every child or every student is a genius, or only give them the opportunity that have the capability, but I think this should be given to every kid, because we don't know which one is going to shine. Obviously there is a system that they're coming through, and then you find out which ones are the ones that really can go and run with this. But I think it should be given, that opportunity should be given to each and every student that we have. How to do that? I found out that this is not a very inexpensive program. It is an expensive program for us, because when it comes to the government, there's a lot of money needed, because there's a lot of students and millions, and we have to create those funds to do things like this. But Kim, I would really want you to, I would really want you to help us out, and Nathan, please, that how we can really work on this and take it to the next level. I know you have 4 schools right now. I would like this in 4,000 schools. And I mean, we would want this to, and hopefully we'll create funds, and we will need a little discount from you, and collaboration of both things, we can make this happen. As my dear friend he said that he needed, the Minister for Education, he needed 90 billion. That's what you said, 90 billion, to do what he wanted to do at that time. And I'll tell you, when I joined this ministry, I asked, what will it take to fix everything? If I want to fix everything, I want to know that number. You have to know that number to fix everything. I don't know, some people just don't think about it, but I wanted to know in the first week, how much money do we need? They said $4 billion. So he needed about $1 billion at that time, so 15 years down the road, we need about $4 billion to fix everything. One should at least know what your goals are. I think my number one priority is quality of education. Right now, in the government sector, I think one has to be very truthful and be straight and let people know what the problems are. And our number one problem is quality. People are going to private schools because I see quality there better than what the government schools are offering. We have to bring, I still haven't met these organizations that are, I think one gentleman I just met was sitting right here. There he is, the Private School Association. I still have to meet them. Because first I want to see what we have. In the last 4 or 5 weeks, I'm just getting stock of everything that I have. And I'm still waiting for a good news that somebody should come and tell me this is what is working. I wish I would have been handed over things by Mr. Imran Masood, and that 10-year lap in the middle wouldn't have come, then we would have been somewhere else today. But I think if he would have handed us things the way he left them, we would have been at a different place. Our starting point would have been different completely. But here we are, and quality, and quality. If we don't bring quality teachers, that's where the quality will start. It'll start with the teachers. If we don't train the teachers well, if we don't bring the right teachers, I mean, these days, I'll tell you, I have met enough teachers in the past 1 month. There are certain teachers that came, I did not know whether that is a teacher or a gangster. Really, it was that, I was shocked. Who is this gentleman? I mean, if he looks scary to me, imagine what the kids would be thinking at that time. So we have to see what we are really providing our kids. Instead of me coming from one party, political party, and putting all the people because I want to make my party happy. So I want all PTI people to be joining teachers and teachers. We cannot do this. We are cheating our children. Standing today, I'll tell you, we are cheating our children of the real education that's supposed to be given to them. We have to start absolutely from zero again. Because when you see what's happening with the government schools, we can walk in the city right now. This is Lahore, the biggest city, supposedly one of the most educated cities. Let's walk, we'll go to government schools, and you'll see what the conditions are. We have to change all this. We need everybody's support. We need private support. We need public-private partnerships. We need everything. We need curriculum to be changed, because when I say curriculum has to be changed, people think that I'm talking about English medium. No, I'm not. I'm talking about a curriculum that you don't have to cram. It has to be something, if it says this is a microphone, tell the kid that it's not just a microphone. What is it used for? What is it made out of? Tell 10 different things about the microphone. It has to be critical thinking. It cannot be just saying, This is a microphone, this is a microphone, this is a microphone. The kid sees it and says, this is the microphone, that's it, and doesn't know anything about it. The quality has to be changed. The critical thinking has to be brought in. There are so many things that I really want to do, and I want to go much faster than we are going right now for the past 4 weeks. But this will take time. This will take time, this will take money, this will take a lot of effort. And we all have to do it together. How do we do it together? Because we do it for our country, for our kids. They are the future. We invest in the future of our own country by investing in education. That is the most important thing. If we don't do anything else, and if we can fix education, we have done our job. We have paid our dues to our country. Because we are investing there for generations to come. And I would really want, for once, we would get past this party barriers and leave education alone. That if Mr. Imran Masood brought some good initiatives and good innovations, the other ones should promote them. And because I have seen myself things that he had brought, they've been finished. They've been abolished because he was from a different party and those things were discontinued. I will bring them back again, I'll tell you. The good initiatives that he took, I will sit down with him, I'll bring them back. The things in education, they have to be beyond parties, beyond ourselves, beyond everything. This is for our kids. These things that we will do in the coming months, in the coming years, are for the future of our country. What Spirit of Math has done, incredible. Nathan's grandfather starting this, Kim's father. Look at this. This is called innovation. This is called hard work. This is called, they're not doing it for the money. They can do it for the money in 24 hours, I know. They can be loaded and sitting at home and not worrying about anything. But no. They are making the effort in the right direction. They are taking their time. They are picking and choosing what they want to do, making the right decisions, not looking for the next dollar. So I really appreciate what you're doing, but please make it a little inexpensive for me. I cannot afford it. My kids cannot afford what Zoran has told me the fee, and you were sitting in my office too. I cannot afford it for my kids, but we'll talk about that. One last thing, anything and everything that anybody has good ideas, innovative ideas, not good ideas. I want brilliant ideas. I don't want anything normal anymore. I don't want average. I want the best. And I want anybody who has an idea that is completely out of the park, I want that idea. I don't want average anymore. I want the best for our kids. So anybody who has that, come and see me. My office is open at all times. I'm sitting there most of the time other than my meetings. And we're going to join hands with Spirit of Math also and see what we can do. And I know we'll do something, that's for sure. So that's one thing for sure, but I don't know where we'll start. We'll sit down and we'll discuss. And I welcome everyone. I want to thank you, Kim. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for inviting me here. I want to thank Mr. Imran Masood for putting us all together. And very kind. And hopefully, in the coming future, we'll see the best things that come out of the education in Punjab. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. No, we don't take off too far. We have a big wall at the back that says Releasing the Genius. And what we'd like everybody to do is get one of these markers and sign your name underneath it to show that you were part of this beginning of Releasing the Genius in Pakistan. So thank you everybody for being here and participating. Please go and sign, everybody. We want everybody to go and sign that wall, and we'll start with the Minister of Education to start it, all the ministers of education that have been to start, and then everybody else, please sign. Thank you.